Is astrology good? And if not, why were some saints interested in it? To learn the answer to these questions, stick around. Hello, my name is Father Ambrose Little, and I teach philosophy at the Dominican House of Studies. Welcome to Aquinas 101, Big Questions, Little Answers, the series where I do my best to answer your big questions about philosophy, theology, and more. One of our viewers asks, what is the Thomistic position on astrology, not astronomy? Does it have a valid and noble side to it? The reason for my question is twofold: the interest of St. Albert the Great on the topic, and of course, the narrative around the Star of Bethlehem and the Magi. The short answer to the first part of the question is that astrology does not have any validity or nobility. Now, to expand upon my answer, it will be helpful to explore why St. Albert and other saints were interested in astrology in past ages. It is a curious fact that science in the Middle Ages and the early modern period was not entirely distinct from what we think of today as magic and other occult practices. That is partially because the study of natural philosophy inspired thinkers to search for hidden causes of natural phenomena, and some theories about the mechanisms of these hidden causes come awfully close to theories about magic. There is a good amount of academic literature on this topic, and I certainly cannot do justice to the complicated relationship between science and magic in the history of science. What I can say without controversy is that in the Middle Ages, what we call astrology was part of a more general study of the stars and other heavenly bodies that also included what we call the study of astronomy. Now, it is important to note that because of the ambiguous nature of the study of the stars, saints and scholars such as St. Albert and St. Thomas attempted to clarify what kinds of study of hidden natural causes are legitimate and what kinds of study fall into the dangerous and illegitimate study of occult magic. For instance, both saints were well aware that some astrological practices included acts of worship, like prayers and the offering of incense to the heavenly bodies or spirits associated with the heavenly bodies. These acts of worship are clearly illegitimate, since such practices can only be forms of demonic worship. However, there were other studies about the heavens affecting earthly bodies that were clearly legitimate. For example, studying the stages of the moon to understand the tides, or studying how the light of the sun causes the growth of plants, are clear cases of heavenly bodies having an effect on earthly bodies. Not only were these subjects appropriate then, they are still appropriate subjects of study in contemporary science. The real area of ambiguity at that time was whether planets and other stars could cause changes in bodies here on Earth depending upon their positions in the sky. For instance, could the appearance of Mars in a certain constellation cause a child born at that time to have a shorter life? In medieval science, it was thought that these heavenly bodies could physically cause change in earthly bodies by means of the light they shed on the world, in a way similar to how the sun affects earthly bodies by its light. So a reason why the appearance of Mars in a particular constellation could shorten a baby's life was thought to be the result of how the angle of the light affected the physical body of the newborn. All of this gets very complicated, but the point I want to highlight is that there was thought to be a properly natural way the heavenly bodies acted upon the earth to cause change, based upon the cosmological model that was prevalent at the time. With that in mind, we can see why astrology is not valid today. With the development of science, we understand the mechanics of change and the laws of nature differently than our medieval forebears, and our scientific models have shown that the physical mechanics central to astrological causality are clearly false. As a result, we now know there is no properly natural way that the heavenly bodies could affect the world in the way astrology supposes. There is also the possibility that contemporary astrology still retains some of the supernatural causal efficacy. However, saints like St. Albert and St. Thomas were very clear that any supernatural activity from astrology would be demonic. Therefore, any attempt to communicate with the spiritual realm through astrology is very dangerous and forbidden by the Church and by all the saints who have considered the matter, including St. Albert. In short, stay away from astrology. It can only do you harm and cannot do you any good. Our viewer also asked about the Magi and the Star of Bethlehem. Since my next episode will be coming out around Christmas, I will answer that big question next time. So stay tuned. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Big Questions, Little Answers. I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, may God bless you and keep you in His grace. I hope that answers all your questions, but if not, please let us know by submitting your big questions using hashtag AskAFriar in the YouTube comments and on social media. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends, because it matters what you think.